edition of the Daily Racing Form, a weekend preview. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here. I'm Gino Bacola alongside Scott Shapiro with producer Lucia pulling the strings behind the scenes as we get you ready for a big weekend out at Churchill Downs. Scott, what I love about this weekend, it's claiming crown. So horses that run for claiming prices get a chance to run in big purses for stakes money. It's like a one-time-a-year thing where they really get a chance to shine, and it ends up having huge fields.
It sure does, and I think there's an angle as a horse player you can use. You probably want to look to horses that have been pointing to here. When you look at them, not horses that have been forced in, but horses maybe that have been freshened up a little for these big purses. Because, like you said, it's like their Breeders' Cup for the everyday meat and potato horses.
Daily Racing Form is more than just the horse racing, too. We're about sports betting as well now. You can go to the Daily Racing Form Bet on Sports section. You can find that on the top right corner when you go to the website, and it'll take you to the news. It'll take you to sportsbook reviews, offers, where you can claim up to $5,000. Right now, it's a great time to be a sports fan. I just saw college basketball games the other day, NBA, football, college football. We just finished up with baseball and the Breeders' Cup, and we have a huge weekend of horse racing coming up this weekend. Let's get on out there, Scott, because this first race we're going to talk about, the Claiming Crown Jewel, has a massive field. So we'll get through this one as quick as we can. On paper, I thought there were a couple speed horses in there, and one of them looks like Gilded Kraken from down on the inside. He's coming out of some strong races, Scott, but he seems like he's kind of a one-dimensional speed horse. So I don't know if this race sets up for him all that well.
I agree with that. When I look at this race, I'm going to definitely wager on this race. I like it from a handicapping perspective, and I'm going to play against horses that are going to be forward. I think Gilded Kraken down on the inside, no bargain with speed to his outside.
Scott, you and I have already talked this week about this race before. I know one of those horses you might be wagering on is the 2, Cadet Cours, who should get a really nice trip coming from off the pace in here.
Yeah, 15 for 41 in his career. I think he's amongst the best finishers in the field. If you look at the time for and pace projector, he doesn't have the chiclet, but with the inside draw, I think he's got a chance to save ground and have the best final punch, and that's the horse I like most in this spot.
Happy Strike is really sharp. He has won 4 in a row, but his wins have been over at Prairie Meadows. It's a racetrack that's a little bit softer company than what he's going to be facing on Saturday. So I kind of want to make him prove it to me before kind of seeing where he stacks up.
I agree. And, if you're not familiar with the different tracks, I think the best way to kind of look at it is look at the price he was in the races beforehand at similar class levels, right? I mean, he was 10, 50 to 1 and 30 to 7 to 1 and badly out finished. Then he gets to Prairie Meadows. He's a short price and able to win. I think this is a pretty tough spot for him.
As we move to Overstatement, we're coming at a horse who was a winner last time out at Keeneland. We have a replay of his win last time out. I thought this was a good performance, Scott, but he's going to need to kind of step up again off of this effort. He does have a win at Churchill Downs, and with his running style, he could get a nice trip. I think they'll be moving early on in here. I just don't know if he's quite good enough to beat this field.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I talk about playing against speed, you kind of want to have horses with somewhat of this running style. You might not be all that far off of it, but the mile 1 1/8, and he has been taking on lesser company. I'm a little bit dubious on whether he's going to be finishing full run against this group.
We have Alternate Reality next. He's going to add the blinkers. And for me, I'm a little bit concerned because he's a horse who's 0 for his last 6, and he's not been really successful going longer. We've only seen him going this mile and 1/8 trip a couple times. What are your thoughts on Alternate Reality?
Yeah, 0 for 5 at the distance. The blinker is going on. It seems a little bit of a stab. It's good to see Brian Hernandez Jr. back in the saddle. Kentucky Derby winning rider on Mystic Dan was hurt out a little while. Joe Sharpbarn, who he rides for here, just hasn't been quite as hot as they have been most of the year.
Well, Laka is a deep closer. He has a couple wins at Churchill Downs. He was able to get by Alternate Reality in that most recent win on September the 28th at Churchill. What do you think about his chances here?
Well, another horse that will be, potentially with the right running style. He's run some good races over here, and he's 2 for 5 at the distance. But one of those races is a recent one. It's the Presque Isle Downs, and that's over a different surface. So little bit questionable if this is the right surface and he's good enough, but maybe he's running on for a slice.
Give you some pros and some cons for double your money. Has some speed, can pass horses, 12 straight top 3 finishes. And we're watching one of the wins right here. This was most recently at Aqueduct. So he showed us he can step up and win at Aqueduct. I do wonder, though, a lot of his best races have been at Parks. He's probably going to be forwardly placed in this race, and I'm not sure if that's exactly where you want to be. So I can go back and forth on him, Scott. He wouldn't really shock me, but I like others a little bit more.
Yeah, and he's one of the shorter prices, 8 seconds in those races. So while he runs his race, he doesn't always have that nose for the wire. He's cutting back in distance. But the one positive I'll say, and I don't really love him that much, but this is a barn that I think this is their only horse. So they clearly are very mapping out their plan all along here. So double your money is in good form. I could see him hitting the board.
Legree is the next one. And Scott, I like this horse a little bit at a big price. I think you can put a line through his most recent race on the turf. You can look at that August 31st race at Saratoga. He's a pretty good fourth behind three horses who would all be very tough in a spot like this. The only time he was in for the tag, he won. That was the race that qualified him for this. Is he going to need the right kind of trip? Is he going to need to improve a little bit? Yes and yes, but I'm hoping he can sit maybe fourth or fifth in here just behind the speeds, and he should be a really big price. So a horse I'm going to be including.
Yeah, I got taken there by Al Stahl, who didn't take a large segment of his horses. Spotted him the win. He was in a good spot. He got claimed. Now he, has to take on tougher company. I'm not as high on him as you, but at 30-1 with the right potential running style, I will leave it alone in terms of talking you off him or anybody out there.
I think you like the next horse a little bit more at a decent price too. A horse who comes out of a fourth at Ellis Park, was well behind Burning Hot, but this is one who could get some pace to run at, has run well at Churchill Downs, and has been in some pretty sharp barns. Do you give this guy a chance?
I do. I think he, maybe on the win end, a little up against it, but he was the one that had the late LP Chiclet on the Timeform US pace projector. And he could be making the last move or one of them. Two of his four wins are over this track. And I like that they went back to reclaim them. These same connections, HRH Racing and Eddie Keneally, the trainer. HRH Racing, they generally own one horse at a time. I know that. And this horse could be live at a big price.
Burning Hot is sharp, has won 4 of the last 6, loves Churchill. He can get the distance, but he is a pretty one-dimensional speed horse. And if there are, 3 horses that all want to go forward in there, it might make life really difficult on him early.
Yeah, he's the kind of horse that I'm going to let beat me in here. Obviously, he comes in great form, but they're smaller fields he's been against. He's had things his way on the front end. I think he's going to have to earn it in here, and I'll tip my cap if he's able to.
Dan Samo is really honest, Scott, but he just doesn't mind settling for those smaller awards, right? You can see he's got the 5 wins, 10 seconds, 8 thirds. So maybe an underneath type to use in some of the bottom of exotics, because I could sure see him picking up some pieces here. I just don't know if he's this good.
Yeah, and he also has a tough post, but the price is big. He's hit the board in 4 of his 8 starts here, and he does have potentially the right running style, but he could get caught very wide early in this race.
It's tough to knock Navajo Warriors' overall form as of late. I mean, he's won 5 in a row. He's done it at a couple different tracks, Santa Anita, Saratoga, Churchill. He was in the Bob Baffert barn early in his career. I like a lot about him, just the price. I don't want to take too short a price on him in a big field like this.
He comes out of a race where the track favored closers as well. So this is the kind of horse you're going to look more to poke holes in. Obviously, there's a lot to like about him. He's got the top rider in the country coming in great form.
Point Doom is one of those speed horses we were talking about. He's sharp right now, Scott. He's won 2 in a row, but he's drawn way to the outside. He's got speed down to the inside and speed a little inside of him there. So he's going to really earn it if he wins this race.
Yeah, and one of this 2-start, 2 back, I went back and watched. He takes a lot of urging to get out of the gate, and that might work from the inside. Going to be a tall task here for a horse that's another one in good form, but has done his best running on the front end.
Rounding out the field is American Law. His best races were about 2023 to the middle of 2024. He hasn't quite gotten back to that level, and he's hooked way out wide. Another one who has a lot of minor awards, lots of second and thirds too.
He's going to have to earn a minor award here the hard way, because he's very likely to be stalking wide with 3 speeds at least to his inside. He's one of the least likely winners here, but again, a big price.
There are a couple more races throughout the day on Saturday, just like this. Huge fields, really, really competitive. Scott, we round this thing out with our selections. You're going to go to the 2-horse, who's very fair price. You'll go 2, 9, 12, and 7 for me. I'm going to take a shot at a horse who's 30-1 on the morning line. I'll be using some of those even numbers, 8, 12, 2, and 10. Don't go anywhere. We'll hit the graded stakes race, a preview of the 3rd at Churchill on Saturday. Welcome back to the Daily Racing Form weekend preview. We're going to go to race number 3 earlier on the card at Churchill. It's a smaller field, but is a graded stakes race, Scott. And there are a couple really nice fillies and mares in this field. Before we get into them, we're going to talk about one of the new tools that Daily Racing Form has. Scott, I think when you and I were younger, AI meant Allen Iverson. For me, he was awesome. He had that crossover. I had some shoes, some AIs, but AI much different now. And if you ask DRF AI questions about particular horse races or a day at a certain track, this will help you out. If you're someone who maybe you don't have hours and hours to do the prep and the research, what I do, Scott, is I'll ask it, hey, can you find me some 10-1 shots and above at Churchill Downs in the late pick 4 on Saturday? And then it gives me like 2 horses in each race to take a look at. Then I can dive into them and go, you know what? I want to use that price in there. So AI, get the DRF AI, and you can ask AI. It will help you out when you're handicapping. It'll save you a ton of time. Use that QR code right there on your screen. You can take a look at some of the sample questions. Scott, Churchill Downs, race number 3. It's the grade 3 Chaluki on Saturday. It's a 1-turn mile. We have some really nice filly and mares in here, 3-year-olds and up. And I thought, on paper, we've got the 2, and the 6 and the 7, the 2 outside horses that'll probably take a lot of money and be the really big players. We start out with Impel, a horse who early on in her career had really high hopes for her. She wins a couple races early. She goes into the grade 1 Ashland at Keeneland. She's only 2-1 in that race, and she just doesn't really progress from that point on. Honestly, she has some okay races since then. I think the 1-turn mile is probably a good spot for her because she's not a horse that wants to really pass horses all that much. And so she wants to really be close and kind of keep that same momentum going. What do you think about Impel's chances in here?
Yeah, the mile at Churchill is unique. It's 1 turn. There's a couple other tracks like that, Gulfstream, Aqueduct, Belmont, but a lot of 2-turn 1 miles. But she did win over this 1-turn mile, to your point, 3 back. Otherwise, I'm with you. I thought there was a high hopes for this filly to be one of the top Brad Cox younger, like 3-year-old fillies in his barn. Didn't really pan out. I feel like they've been searching for her niche. Hard to knock a horse that turned almost 600,000 and coming in with 2 wins. But I think she's going to be in a tough spot here down on the inside against this group.
A more positive. 2 starts back at Ellis Park. She defeated a horse named Regald, who came back and won the grade 3 Delaware handicap and then finished 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So that form actually has come back pretty well. We move to the 2, Shred the Gnar. She's a nice filly, Scott. She's run 3 times. She's almost undefeated. Her 2 wins came by 6+ and 7 lengths. She has good speed. She actually showed us she can sit off the pace a little bit. And this barn, trainer Brian Lynch, is proven with horses coming off of a long layoff. I think he's at 19% over the last 5 years and a really nice ROI if you're just betting his horses off the long layoff. So she seems like she might be the speed in here. She looks like the quickest on paper.
She has an unlimited upside, basically, and it doesn't take a genius to see that. She lost by a neck and then 2 big wins. Now, they did, she did have things favorable in those races. She dominated in her last 2, and she goes to the sidelines in the middle of the year, right before the Kentucky Derby was run, and we haven't seen her since. But, man, she's got upside. She should be on the lead by herself with not a lot of speed. So she's tough to really knock. It is interesting, the 1-turn mile. She might be more of a 2-turn type speed horse. We'll see.
Yeah.
She's going to be a shorter price, though, than I'm really excited about.
Literate is a grade 3 winner who actually won on the Woodbine Synthetic back in July. She hasn't been competitive, though, in her last couple races, Scott. She does move into the Brad Cox barn. If you're making a list of like top 5 trainers in all of North America, he's on that list. And if you're making a list of top 5 riders in all of North America, Irad Ortiz Jr. is on that list. So off of just connections alone, you probably take a second look at Literate, but I got to see a little bit more from him now moving to the dirt.
Yeah, it feels like it's just a starting point for this new trainee for the Cox barn. And, Irad happens to ride for this barn, so it's not every time he's riding a live horse. Feel like you could get caught here. I mean, big price, 10-1, but she's going to be way out of it. This feels like I said, like just kind of a prep to get her ready maybe for another spot.
That's another point, right? She doesn't have a lot of early speed, and I don't know if they're going to be flying early in this field. They're probably going to all be pretty content with their positions. Runway Diva is grade 3 place, but just one for the last 9. Does get Jose Ortiz, though, who's been very, very good over the last year or so in Kentucky. What do we do with this scout?
Jose is the positive here. This is a barn that doesn't have a lot of runners, hasn't had a lot of success this year. I think maybe more of a grinder than that 1 turn mile horse type horse where you have to have a little combination of sprint and stamina. So I'm not really all that in a runaway diva, but I'm not giving away much. She's the biggest price on the board.
Zadorsky is the next one, Scott. She was fourth in her most recent race. The problem is she was well behind the winner, who is One Magic Philly, who's drawn right to her outside. So she's going to have to improve 7 lengths on that one. Some of the positives for Zadorsky, she does have a couple wins at Churchill Downs. Distance shouldn't be a problem for her. I think the 1 turn mile should be fine. I just don't know if she's going to get the trip, and I don't know if she's quite as good as the top 3 in here.
Yeah, I think it's a reach to get to any of the non-top 3 in here on
Yeah.
top. I prefer Zadorsky of the 3 long shots only because of the distance. I think and the track, I think she likes it here. Obviously, you see her with some success over on off track, but the 3 long shots are all up against it.
One Magic Philly is the 6. She's had an interesting career. She got really good last year in 2024. She won a few races in a row leading into the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And then she tailed off a little bit, but she was facing some really good horses along the way. This was a bounce back performance for her, and this was her first start in the Brendan Walsh barn. Shout out to Brendan Walsh. Took a picture with him and Frank Miramati at the Breeders' Cup. Always bet Brendan in Kentucky. That's the rule here. One Magic Philly should sit a pretty good trip in this one, Scott.
Should stalk just off of Shred the Gnar. This is a filly that I think is going to get the run of the race and is in maybe if not the best form, one of the best forms coming in. I like her if she's going to be 3-1.
Ragtime rounds out the field. She'll add the blinkers. She's classy. I mean, in her 5 races, she's won 3 of them and a second and a third. In her last 2 starts, though, she's gotten a little farther back than she had earlier in her career, Scott. She's going to add the blinkers, which helped her in her first couple races, but now you're blinkers on, blinkers off. You're coming back on now. I respect her ability. I think she's very likely winner of this race, but I prefer the horses who have a little bit more speed, like One Magic Philly, to maybe get the jump on her. Here she is coming late on the scene.
Yeah, I'm going to hope she comes too late on the scene once again in here as well. Don't see the race setting up for her. Maybe the blinkers will be the equalizer for her to get her more into the race. I see it maybe more as a negative, not really what Mott probably wanted to do ultimately.
I agreed with your sentiment, Scott. I had a hard time getting around the top 3 in here, and you and I are kind of looking at the same in here. We go 6, 7, and 2. You're going to go 6, 2, and 7 there with One Magic Philly as the top selection. Such a big day on Saturday at Churchill Downs. I mean, there are some really good betting races. So we wanted to go through the card and give a couple races where we had strong opinions. And one of those first races was in race number 4 on Saturday. This is a race on paper I thought has a really good amount of early speed in here. They're going to be going 6 furlongs. I mean, when you see a horse like Wound Up from Southern California in the race, they'll be flying. I mean, Sharp Warning is really, really quick. Concrete Glory is very, very fast. I wanted a horse that can sit off the pace a little bit, that can close. Raymond is actually coming in from Prairie Meadows, but if you look at some of the races, I mean, he's faced some pretty nice horses like Glenn Gary, who's 7 for 15, and Skelly. I think he gets a good trip, Scott. He's 6-1 on the morning line. Anything above like 9-2, I think is a fair price, and that should give me some nice value in there. So that's race number 4, which is one of these claiming crown races. They're really good big fields on Saturday. Scott, you've got to play, I believe, in race number 7.
Yeah, and it looks like Raymond's coming in fresh, and I remember that horse when he was younger in the Steve Asmussen barn. Race 7 for me is the 1 turn mile, and it is one of the claiming races as well. I think it's the Glass Slipper, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the pace should be honest and contentious in here as well. Jubilant Joni won this race a year ago, and there's some speed horses that have come in good form, but I'm going to go to the Jose Ortiz. We talked about Jose being, we didn't talk about him being Irad's brother, but amongst that top 5 list, you put Irad in there, Jose there as well.
Yep.
And I thought this horse took on a better field last time for sure in the Maryland Million. I know that was state breds, but those aren't claimers. And I think he's got the right running style. I think Jose, with the speed right to his inside, is going to be able to angle over, sit kind of a mid-pack trip, and get a good setup here. So I like Next Girl for the Robert Bales barn, a Mid-Atlantic barn. This horse has never been to Louisville, but I'm hoping that she takes to the new surroundings.
Yeah, when you just look at some of the races that she's exiting, they're just some really strong races at Laurel and Colonial. Not a lot of claiming races, a lot of those non-winners of two allowance races as well. So just one thing you're looking at, and I'm looking at, what have these horses been doing recently? What races are they coming out of? And some of them are coming out of some really strong races, like Next Girl. We move to my next best bet on the day, and this one's going to be in race number 9. What's interesting, the first horse I was just talking about in the 4th race was a situation where I thought there was a lot of speed and it could set up from someone from off the pace. This race in the 9th race, I think it's the opposite. I don't think there's much speed on paper at all in this big field. I think Soze is the one to catch. You look just a couple starts back, this horse was winning at Monmouth Park, at Delaware Park. There's a lot of wins at Parks. The concern that I have, 7 furlongs might be a little bit pushing it for Soze. I will probably include Scott, Take Charge Smiling, who I think could sit right behind and maybe fall into it. So I'm looking for some speed horses. But if you're playing like a late pick 4, pick 5, something like that, I want to throw in a couple of these horses that are going to be forwardly placed, like Soze. So I'm going to give that one a big look. I think Soze is double-digit odds on the morning line.
12 to
It should
1,
offer
yeah.
you some really nice value in here.
Yeah, 12 to 1. And, speed can forget what kind of class level it's up against often if it gets brave on the front end. I'm going to go to the last race for the last play. And these are kind of, you can combine these races for some horizontal wagers as well. Some of our thoughts and some of your own as well. And this is the Tierra, the Claiming Crown Tierra. Risk Manager is a deserving favorite in here. 11 for 36 in the career, 3 straight wins. Mike Maker, Tyler Gaffleone, they know their way around and to this winner's circle. But Nantasket Beach does as well. This is the son of Street Boss that won a race impressively. In fact, knocked me out of the horizontals that day. So I remember him quite well. Last time out, he was shipped into Saratoga for this low-profile barn. And I took, obviously, that's a positive. He didn't run very well, but he also did not have things his way. He was wide and off the pace the day where the inside was good, and there was a speed horse on the front end. So, to me, Nantasket Beach with Julian Le Peru being refreshing for this spot seems well spotted. It seems like they regrouped, and they're getting, again, lesser competition than they faced last out. So, I'll swing away. We're all kind of looking at these 8 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1, not total bombs like you with Legree, but some price horses.
And I have this horse in all of my closing exotics. I think I picked Nantasket Beach 3rd in here. I'll be using everywhere. Let's put a line through that last race. And so many of this guy's races are just really good. The form makes sense. A couple races where he's had a little bit of trouble, but he always shows up in here. That 2 starts back race in May was so good. And he might have just regressed a little bit off of that race and they give him some time back. I think he's a great fit in here, Scott, Nantasket Beach. And as you pointed out, we can connect some of the races that we talked about for a late pick 4 or late pick 5 sequence. So if you're someone out there who likes to play parlays, that's what those pick 4s and pick 5s are, trying to connect 4 or 5 consecutive races in the mix. Wish you the best of luck this weekend out at Churchill Downs. That's going to be the focus for me and for Scott, but hopefully you'll be focused right back here next week for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. See you again on Friday.